We are live. Welcome to BAM Fight Club. I'm Colby. This is Fern. We are previewing UFC 280 Oliveira versus Makhachev, taking place tomorrow, October 22nd, on Saturday in the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. Fights are starting at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. For the prelims, main card at 11 o'clock. And first up on the card, we have Caitlin Chookagian versus. How do you say that first name, Fern? Manon?
Mignon. Yeah, she's French, right? Manon.
Yeah, yeah. And Chookagian coming in is a plus 175 underdog. This is interesting. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I know that Furiat has a good record, but I feel like that last fight against Maya, I feel like she didn't necessarily dominate in that fight. What are your thoughts? Do you think those odds are justified, or what do you think, Fern?
First of all, I'm gonna have to say I'm super upset that Chookagian missed weight. She's always been professional, always comes through, exciting to fight, like exciting fighter to watch. With her fighting Manon, I think it's just maybe because Manon's got a 9-1 record. She's coming off of wins versus similar opponents, if not the exact same opponents. Against Jennifer Maya, Myra Silva. I want to see. I think this is going to be a great stand-up fight. In all honesty, I'm still excited for it. It just kind of sucks that Chookagian didn't make weight. I'm gonna wonder what happened. She's still one of my favorite female fighters because she comes in, strikes, stands up, mixes it up. She does like a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson style, just kick move, that kind of karate point fighting. She's been mixing up more wrestling lately. With Manon, I think she just has a solid foundation in striking. I want to see her grapple more for sure. I'm gonna pull up her stats here. Let's see what her grappling is at. Yeah, she's got zero point 0.4 takedown average, well, which is somehow more than Caitlin Chookagian's.
Yeah,
Uh, takedown defense is stronger. With that being said, they're both strikers. She's got a higher strike uh, percentage, landed per minute, significant strikes, less absorbed per minute. Defense is better. This is a good stand-up female fight for sure when it comes down to it. I'm just like super shocked at the grappling stats because they're like non-existent.
yeah, they're not existent. Do you think, as far as the odds go, Chookagian missing weight? Do you think that's what's factoring in here? Because Chookagian, she's on a 4-fight win streak. Her last loss was to Jessica Andrade, and the loss before that was to Shevchenko. So she's not losing a lot, and when she does, it's to the absolute best. Whereas Frio hasn't gone up against the kind of competition that Chookagian has. So
Not at
um,
all. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but I'm learning that it's hard to bet against the house a lot of the times. They have it figured out from some reason. I don't know if they know something we don't know, but it's
well,
it's
the,
like
the the odds are favored for this to go to a decision. So I'm guessing they're thinking that Frio just has slightly better technical striking, is going to be able to rack up those points and maybe take home the win. So who's your pick on who's going to win?
I want Caitlyn to win because I like seeing, not I like seeing people miss weight, but I like seeing when somebody overcomes something like this. To me, adds some drama to this because she tried her best. She's not a fighter that makes excuses. She tried her best, win, lose or draw. She's gonna give credit to her opponent. I want to see her win so that maybe in the future they rematch. Or I think either way, we need somebody new in the picture. As a challenger, as a contender, and either one of these is great. And they both have style. Yeah, their fights go to decision, but they're decisions that I've had fun watching. So I want Chookagian to do it. Like, give me a storyline out of this, something to come out where it's just like she overcame that issue. She battled through it. I don't know how many fighters we've seen, champions or not, that have all dealt with the same thing.
Yeah.
Just so
I
underdog
think
pick. So
yeah, I'm going to pick Chikagian on this one. I feel like she's just gone up against the absolute best, potentially the GOAT, Shevchenko. So that kind of experience, I feel like matters and will make a difference. So yeah, I'm picking the underdog on that one as well. Next up, we've got Beneil Dariush versus Matus Gamrot. Gamrot coming in as a -200 favorite. And both of these guys are coming off of pretty significant win streaks. Dariush coming off of a 7-fight win streak. The last loss was by KO before he even joined the UFC. So since he's been in the UFC, he's been undefeated. And Gamrot, almost similar, lost his first fight in the UFC by decision and has won the last 4 since then with 2 KOs and a submission. And this is going to be, I think, an exciting fight. I feel like this is going to be a grappling heavy fight, which a lot of people might think not very exciting, but I think it'll be because both of these guys are kind of explosive. So I feel like it's going to be a high-paced grappling match. What do you think, Fern?
I'm excited for this one. I think that a lot of people were hoping Beneil would get some sort of kind of consideration in the title fight being a backup or something like that. He kind of threw his name out there. With that being said, he's got his work cut out for him because Mateos has great takedown average, great takedown defense. Beneil's is at 81, Mateos is at 90%, but Mateos has 4 takedowns per 15 minutes, almost 5. So he's and his last couple wins, Beneil beat T-Ferg by decision, and that was a fun fight to watch, but he hasn't really, I don't know, I don't want to say like he hasn't impressed me, but Mateus win over Arman Tsarukyan, like Arman has just come out as a good stand-up fighter, striker, and his win over Jeremy Stevens, like who is dangerous and comes at you swinging, like he submitted him, in a minute. So I think Mateus definitely is going to be the fighter to watch. I'm going to pick him because just Beneil hasn't shown me much in regards to what he's done. He's not to say he beat down older version of Tony Ferguson, but it hasn't been anything surprising or eye-opening about how he's won or he's come out.
Good. Do you think this is going to be a fight where the wrestling will cancel out? It'll be a Colby versus Usman fight, and it'll just be stand up, or do you think? I have the feeling Gamrot doesn't care if Dariush wants to wrestle or not. I feel like Gamrot's going to try to get the takedown regardless. But do you think it's going to happen more in the stand up, or do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's got the possibility for it to just end up stand up because they're going to be so versed in the grappling. I think Mateus just has the better skills all around. That's just me though.
Yeah, I'm picking Gamrot on this one. His wrestling to me is incredible. They both got good wrestling defense. They have similar striking stats, and so I'm going to give the edge to Gamrot.
Definitely, I agree.
And up next we have Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. Yan, this is crazy. This tells you how crazy the card is. Yan versus Sean O'Malley is three fights from the top on the main card. This is going to be a fun one tomorrow. But we've got Yan coming in as a -280 favorite. Sean O'Malley +230 underdog. I cannot wait to see this fight. I'm torn though because I love both these guys. I think they're both absolutely amazing fighters. I feel like the edge probably has to go to Yan because of the experience and the competition that he's faced. But I'm a little bit surprised it's -280. What are your thoughts on Yan being such a huge favorite on this one?
I think people are just expecting him to, besides fighting for the title and losing to the champion, they expect him to dominate the division, which he did for a while. I definitely think that for me he's going to be the favorite. He's only lost to Aljamain, and I think he was clearly, a lot of people agree, he was beating Aljamain before the disqualification. We saw Corey Sandhagen's last fight where he just is amazing, and he was able to beat him pretty clearly and convincingly. And against that fight, against Aljamain, I don't know what happened because he didn't have a plan for the back, but he like when it went back to standing, it was you just expected him like he's gonna knock him out, he's gonna hurt him, he's gonna do whatever. With Sean O'Malley, super dynamic, super unpredictable. Just I like how he fights like he doesn't care. He's so confident in his skills that he just does whatever he wants to do out there, and he's successful doing it. Reminds me of like Anderson Silva. Everyone compares him to Conor McGregor. Yeah, probably like social media popularity, stuff like that. But skill wise, when he's out there and he's striking and he's flowing, I'm like, that's like Anderson Silva. That's like he knows he's gonna hit you. He knows he's gonna land. You're not gonna hit him, and he's ready to go.
Yeah, and this one's interesting because obviously both of them are really great strikers. But one thing we know about Jan is that he will take advantage of a guy being off balance and do some trips or throws. So can definitely take guys down. We saw with Sterling, seems like once they get to the ground, he's definitely going to be one of the weaker guys in the top 5 of the division. Sean O'Malley, though, what's interesting, he doesn't go for any takedowns. I don't think I've ever seen him shoot a takedown.
No.
But I don't know if you recall a few years ago when he ended up like injuring his leg and he was on the ground and he still ended up winning the fight because the opponent was dumb enough to follow him to the ground. But when Sean O'Malley's on the ground, I feel like his jiu-jitsu is actually really good. It's just not his go-to, and I feel like part of it is when you're that long, you can do lots of stuff. Just like with striking, there's all kinds of opportunities that are open to the taller guy. Same thing with jiu-jitsu, and I feel like his jiu-jitsu skills are really, really good. So I wonder with this one if Sean starts to pick him apart from the outside, because Jan, he's more of the power striker, counter striker, and doesn't have nearly as much movement as Sean O'Malley. If Jan's going to try to take O'Malley down, and if it goes to the ground, yeah, what do you think happens if it goes to the ground, if Jan ends up taking down O'Malley because he's not liking what's happening on the feet?
I think Jan just is such a compact guy. Unless somehow Sean can get his back, Jan does a great job in any other position besides having his back taken. Like, I don't know what it was about that. Obviously, he clearly didn't train for that at all. I don't think he's ever put himself in that position to be like, somebody's going to get my back and hold me. And somebody like Aljamain is Sarah Longo trained, probably Gracie Jiu-Jitsu through all of them. Like, those guys, that's all they do. And you saw Matt Serra's grappling when he was significantly undersized for the weight division. Like, Aljamain just was able to utilize all those things to control Jan. And I don't know if Sean can do that, but I think Sean's gonna want the highlight win KO. So even if he rocks him, or even if he's beating him on the ground, he's gonna step up and try to finish him on the feet. Because I think I love it that he's decided that that's his style, that's his brand. He's gonna be known for that. He's not gonna be known for submissions or ground control. He's gonna be known like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna go throw hands and I'm probably gonna win. So.
So who do you think has the edge on the striking if it's pure stand up? Do you think O'Malley's got the advantage there because of being dynamic and his movement and how tall he is for the division?
I think Jan's got like the better footwork. If he incorporates kicks the whole fight, it's gonna be his fight to lose. If O'Malley is able to just sit back and pick him apart and stay out of range, because Jan doesn't have that long of legs, and O'Malley's got long legs. So, like, that combination, I think, is going to make Jan miss a lot of his leg kicks. If it's just hand, I think O'Malley's going to get the KO. If Jan can kick and keep kicking, I think he's got a chance of winning a decision. I just don't see him finishing O'Malley. O'Malley, to me, I haven't really seen him in danger. Haven't seen him knocked out cold. And I don't think Jan's going to be the guy to do it. So
yeah, we've only seen O'Malley go down twice. It was from a weird knee injury, the other time where someone kicked his leg and it went dead, that dead nerve leg thing. And I can't recall anyone ringing his bell from punches, except for when he was on the ground because of his leg being disabled when there was some of the ground and pound. So who's your pick on this one? Do you think it's going O'Malley? You picking the underdog, or are you picking Jan?
I think of what I would pick for DraftKings or for like gambling, but also for like future matchups. I didn't like what Jan's last fight against Aljamain, and if Aljamain wins, I don't want to see them fight again. Like I'd like to see O'Malley fight. I want to see somebody new. Like let's keep it going. Let's keep the division moving. Futures can be rematches can be had in the future. Let's have some new stuff happening. And it seems like this year's been it. People have been losing their titles left and right. So, O'Malley by KO.
I'm picking O'Malley too. and like you said about betting, I mean, do you think if O'Malley wins this, do you think we'll ever see him a plus 230 underdog? I'm guessing probably not for a long time.
Yeah.
So for the money for sure on O'Malley, and then I'm gonna be picking O'Malley on that one too. Another underdog pick. All right, next up we've got Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw, and we just talked a little bit about Sterling because he fought Jan last, so he's obviously coming off a win. The win before that was also against Jan in the disqualification match where Jan was beating the crap out of Sterling and then got disqualified. TJ Dillashaw in his last fight was pretty interesting against Corey Sandhagen, and a lot of people think Corey Sandhagen won that fight. I could definitely see that perspective, but either way, it was a good competitive fight. But TJ Dillashaw, did not run through Corey Sandhagen by any means, and he's got some miles on the engine at this point. He's 36 years old now. Sterling is 33 years old, so just got a few years on him. But I feel like Sterling's body is not nearly as beat up as TJ Dillashaw's. You saw in the last fight, TJ took a lot of damage in that last fight against Corey Sandhagen. So I feel like you got to take that into account. And, odds aren't too crazy. I mean, they're pretty close. And at negative 175 for Sterling, what are your thoughts on how this fight's going to play out?
I think ultimately Dillashaw's built like Peter Yan. He's going to have the better wrestling than Yan does because he was team alpha male, and I believe he was a collegiate wrestler, all that stuff. But you've seen Aljamain has great submissions, great groundwork, great control. Again, being part of that Sarah Longo fight team, probably Gracie Black Belt, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, those guys, that's all they do. And the fight always goes to the ground. I've only seen him been put to sleep one time, and just Dillashaw, I think he relied a lot on his quickness, on his power. He was training with Bang Ludwig, who was a Muay Thai fighter. He used to do Greg Jackson's camp, and he was the Dwayne's star pupil, and just started knocking people out of nowhere just consistently. And now you look back and you go, with him having tested positive, for steroids, and you're like, yeah, were those KOs because of that? Because out of nowhere he had this crazy power and just sleeping people. I think of the Cody Garbrandt fight, stuff like that. With that being said, I think Aljamain, as easy as he is to hate, because I don't really care for him, and don't care for Sarah Longo fight team either. But he's highly skilled, especially on the ground, and I think standing up, Dillashaw just doesn't have those skills. And I'm interested to see how he's coming back out of all that, because he's up there in age, and he missed quite a few years of his prime because of what he did, and he had built up his skills, and we'll see if he still has that power, still has that pace, still has that footwork. Aljamain hasn't taken a break and been fighting the top guys and beating them. And granted, he was losing to Peter Yan the first fight, but the second fight, I was like, he's gonna finish Peter by freaking submission quick. Like, as soon as he got his back, I remember one of the later rounds, I was like, no, Peter.
Yeah, he had his back in that match for, I don't know, he had to have 15 minutes plus of back time. which is pretty crazy. So you're picking Sterling to win on this one?
Sterling to win because I want to see the fight with Chookagian.
All right. So I'm gonna pick Dillashaw on this one, even though I was just saying that stuff I don't like necessarily how he looked in the last match, how much damage he took, got the Maslin engine, all that. Here's the thing though, if you look at these grappling stats, Aljamain is definitely known for his ground game. I feel like at this point, but what's interesting is if you look at their submission average, Dillashaw has a slightly higher submission average than Sterling. His Dillashaw's takedown defense is almost twice as good percentage wise as Sterling. The takedown accuracy is better, and Sterling shoots or gets slightly more takedowns per 15 minutes on average. But I think Sterling's not going to be able to put Dillashaw away with the strikes. And I think this is going to go to the ground. And I think Dillashaw's superior wrestling. He's going to be able to stay on top. And I think exactly what you said. If for some reason Sterling does get the back of Dillashaw, I don't see Dillashaw laying there for 5 minutes straight and letting him just hang out on his back. I feel like he's too good of a wrestler for that. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Dillashaw. I also think Dillashaw's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because of the substance testing stuff. What was it that he was on? EPO is what he tested for, right? Yeah. So I feel like he's trying to clear his name. He wants to prove that he can do it without without the performance enhancers. So I feel like he's got that motivating him. Sterling, I'm not sure where he is mentally. He seems to be having fun. Like it's kind of like a carefree attitude, which I think can be good, but I'd say probably rare mindset to have when you're trying to chase the and stay at the top. Like I want to see where's that drive, that motivation. How long can you sustain? I don't care, and making the all the jokes about
this is an interesting fight because I think these are like possibly some of the most disliked fighters in the UFC. Because people didn't like, because Dillashaw was like, you cheater, and Sterling, because everyone's like, you lost and you ran with it like I won, I'm the belt, I'm champion, but he retained it. So like this might be one of those back in the day when I was like hoping for double knockout, like somehow double knockout, please.
Yeah. All right, so you're going with Sterling on this one. I'm going with Dillashaw. Let's get to the last fight on the main card. Oliveira, Makhachev. Man, I cannot wait for this one. This is going to be crazy. Oliveira, he's on I can't even count him, 10-fight win streak or something crazy at this point.
Yeah.
As 3 title fight wins. The KO against Chandler and 2 submissions, one against Poirier, one against Gagey. So absolutely... It's weird. It's not like he just rolled through them. You can't say that because I feel like the last 3 fights he was rocked in all 3 fights. But actually, when I saw his last fight, I almost wasn't sure. Thinking back, if he was like pretending to be hurt those other times, because I see him, he fell to his back like a few times in the last fight against Gagey, where I don't think Gagey actually hurt him, but I feel like he wanted to go to the ground. So he just like, when he got hit, he just like played possum or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of called into question what happened in the prior 2 fights, but either way, his submission skills are absolutely off the charts. He's definitely one of the best. Going up against Makhachev, who I think they have a similar. Are they both like won the last 10 fights? Anyway, Makhachev has only lost one fight ever, his second fight in the UFC. Since then, he's been on a winning streak. So he's been on a winning streak since, September 2016. The guy hasn't lost. And his wrestling is absolutely crazy. So what do you think is going to go down in this fight? Do you think it's going to go to the ground? Do you think one of them is going to want to keep it standing? Where do you think the fight's going to take place?
I think what I see happening is Oliveira is going to keep it standing. He's not going to be afraid, obviously, to hit the ground. when it hits the ground, I think Makhachev and all those Dagestani guys just have a whole different pace of wrestling. They're not only are they good, they're so fast, they're so just energetic, and they hold that energy the whole time. I think Oliveira has the better possibility of rocking him standing up, and I see that happening. I don't see Makachev really doing that to him, putting Oliveira in danger, but I do see him putting him in danger on the ground, just with that pace, clinging, clinching, just dragging him down over and over, just like wearing him out. I think, him having Khabib as a mentor and being around that, he's learning how to just take his time and beat people up. It's not exciting to watch, but I think as it gets, you know, further into the fight, Oliveira is probably going to get more and more tired of that style. I don't know if you saw the footage of Oliveira's weight cut. He's a big guy, and they said last fight during fight night he was 181, and you just go
Wow.
like that's how much weight you're like if you're cutting and able to rehydrate that much, you're probably significantly bigger walk around weight. So I hope he's got that figured out, and he's even talking about dropping further. I just want to see him come to this fight and hang, because he's gonna wrestle the whole fight. I know it. So just land your shots, move. You have the skills to tag him. You can take whatever he's gonna throw at you. He's not gonna hit as hard as Chandler, Poirier, Gaethje. Not even close. No way. We haven't seen that yet from him. But it's gonna go to the ground. And are you ready for him to crawl all over you for 25 minutes? I hope so. I hope you're able to just hold him, set up your submissions, and go from there. Because otherwise, if he's just crawling all over you and holding you and dragging you everywhere he wants, it's gonna be time for a new champion.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting too about the striking stats is, yeah, I think Oliveira is the better striker, even though he's known for his grappling and submissions. But what's interesting is Makhachev, if you look at his absorbed per minute, he's at 0.84 strikes absorbed per minute. Oliveira, by contrast, is 3.18. So Makhachev does not get hit very much in these fights. And I think it's because the wrestling where, like you said, kind of like Khabib, he controls the pace of the fight. He controls where the fight's taking place. And also his striking defense is comes out better than Oliveira as well. So even though I think Oliveira has the striking advantage, I think Makhachev's striking defense is going to offset that. I think it's going to go to the ground. And then the question is, I think, is Oliveira going to be able to slip in the submission in the first round, maybe 2 rounds? Because I feel like by round 3 with Makhachev's pace, I don't see Oliveira keeping his energy in rounds 3, 4, and 5 against Makhachev wrestling. So, wait. So who did you pick? Who do you think's going to win? Do you think Oliveira's going to win this one, or do you
I
think...
want Oliveira to win and knock him out, because
Okay.
otherwise I'm just gonna sit there and be like, you knew he was gonna wrestle you, and watch him just
Yeah.
get dragged across the cage for 25 minutes and beat up on. So I don't want to see that.
Okay, so you're picking underdog Oliveira, and I'm going to pick Makhachev, the favorite on this one. I don't think I said the odds. Makhachev at negative 190. So it's always interesting when the champion is the underdog going into the fight. But I feel like Oliveira's been the underdog in all 3 of his championship fights. So
Yeah, another thing we might want to consider is, like, look at Oliveira's last 3 opponents, man. Like, that's gotta, like, physically, you just got hit by like 3 of the hardest punchers in the weight division, like, and 3 of the best guys in the world, like, back to back to back. And yeah, you came out of it, but man, like, your body, I hope is recovered and well rested, and maybe after this he can take some time off, because that is a brutal schedule. Like, Makachev, I hope maybe him winning the belt, he'll defend against these similar opponents or those same opponents, because a lot of people do feel he is unchallenged, unproven. And okay, cool, let's do it if he wins. But man, like, that schedule that Oliveira has, he's by far, like many have said, if he wins this fight, he is the greatest of all time in that weight class. Like, he you can't deny it. Like, look at what he's done. He's taken punishment and still came out on top. But with that, like, don't get hit, sir. Like, defend yourself and come out on top. I don't know who would win. Like, if Makhachev wins, there's plenty of people But if Oliveira wins, you know, everyone he's talking about dropping down a weight class and doing the double belts. Other than that, he's, you know, besides McGregor, I don't know about, you know, anyone else kind of being exciting for the weight class to fight, for him to fight. Who would you like
Yeah,
to see him fight if he wins?
if
Oliveira.
Oliveira wins,
Yeah.
um, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I feel like he's already beat the three guys I would want to see in his last three fights, which was Gagey, Poirier, and Chandler. I don't want to see him fight Ferguson again. Um, yeah, that's a tough one. Whereas if Makhachev wins, I mean, we could see a bunch of fights because Makhachev hasn't fought any of those three guys. He's got that win over Dan Hooker, which is pretty notable. His last fight was Bobby Green, where he just absolutely steamrolled Bobby Green. Has the win over Thiago Moses, Drew Dober, but yeah, not the guys in the top five for the weight class. So definitely a lot more options if Makhachev wins. Will be interesting. Yeah, it'll be hard to argue. I mean, how many times did McGregor win the belt at 155? Was it 3 title fights or something? And it's such a tough weight class. I mean, they're just all killers in the top 10. Like, yeah, you could see anyone in the top 10 fight for the belt. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm going with Makhachev on this one. It's going to be a fun night, or not night of fights, fun morning of fights if you're in the U.S. You got any parting words, Fern?
No, stay tuned. We'll be posting the results. There's some One Fighting Championship on tonight. Started at 5 on Amazon Prime. And so I'll be posting some of those results as well. It's hard to be excited about anything else when tomorrow is just craziness. I love title fights. I wish UFC would just stick to doing pay-per-views that had a title fight on each one of them, because I like the filler ones, but when there's something big on the line, I just love it. And then never even 2 title fights. Like, come on. I don't know. Like, I'm excited to what the possibilities are for sure.